So Sharon, for this year, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, and we're really reflecting on what civil rights means today, how far we've come, how much work we have to do. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the field of civil rights today and maybe your work on Long Island.
Well, I think we still have so much further to go. The conversation is beginning, but many of us, and myself included, keep learning. And I just went through the Sustainable Communities Grant and had an opportunity to participate in the FHEA, the Fair Housing Equity Assessment. And it was really an eye-opener to me to listen to other people and their experiences, and then to look at all the statistics and the demographic data and really look at majority-minority communities and what people are facing. So I'd like to say that it's changed, but it hasn't changed as much as I'd like to see it change. And we have a long way to go. But the conversation has begun, and I think that there are a lot of good people that are earnestly pursuing this in a way that hadn't happened maybe in the past. So I'm hopeful.
We are too. Thanks so much for your work, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks.
It's always wonderful to celebrate a racist work.
Great
work.
Sharon.
Thank you.
Great. So Joan, tonight we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if you could comment about the Civil Rights Act or the work that we still have to do in relation to civil rights.
Well, obviously there's a lot more to do, but we've come a very long way. Since I'm quite old, I remember the beginning of the civil rights movement, and when it was a very rare white person. African American people were sort of distant from us, and we from them. And here we are. We're friends, and it is proof positive that the Civil Rights Act is working.
Great. Thanks so much, Joan. Thank you. Great. So tonight we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. And because I know you're an educator and an activist, I was hoping you could speak a little bit about the importance of civil rights today, how far we've come, the work that we still have to do.
Well, I think it's incredibly important, and I think that we're seeing how important it is with the revisions that have been made and the repeals of enfranchisement, where people, particularly North Carolina and these states where people are not able to vote, and they're going back to voter IDs that are excluding particularly people of color and areas of poverty. So I think that although we've come a long way, the work is not done.
Right. And in terms of higher education, since you work at Farmingdale State College, where do you see the battle of civil rights kind of happening on campus?
Well, I see a few. One is, of course, the problem we're having across the country with inequality. And we're seeing it in our workforce, where they are creating particular elites, and again with term workers who are having a very hard time and are struggling, even though they have the degrees and everything. We're also seeing it in, of course, LGBT rights, which has been a problem on campus. We have some issues there. But we're also, I think, in general on Long Island, seeing a weird resurgence of racism. And it's interesting because you have, our young people who do not, for the most part, see race as a problem. That's not how they're judging each other. But at the same time, we're seeing these things where people are in housing, which you know very well, and in other areas where people are not being hired. So, you take 2 steps forward and 1 back.
True. Thanks so much for your reflection. Thanks. So tonight we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, and we're reflecting on, where we've come, how far we still have to go in the field of civil rights. So as a politician on Long Island, where do you see the fight of civil rights today?
The fight of civil rights is ongoing. Yes, we do have an African-American president, but nonetheless, every day in my district, I still see people not having equal access to loans, to educational opportunities. So it's about creating opportunity for all, and not just Americans, but also new Americans, people who want to subscribe to the American dream. My district is known as the Ellis Island of Long Island. It's significant that we're here also celebrating the Brown versus Board of Education decision, in which the decision, as an attorney, specifically says that we will integrate with all deliberate speed. That means, if you look at the definition, in due time. And so, we're still in the process of integrating. Change is not an event, it's a process. And we must appreciate that and continue with that change.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
So I'm with Tom Rogers, who is the superintendent of Nassau here in Long Island, Nassau County School District, BOCES. And tonight we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, but it's also the 60th anniversary of the Brown versus Board decision, which said that separate is unequal here in the U.S. So I was hoping, Tom, if you could reflect a little bit about what that decision meant for us, especially here on Long Island, still being so segregated, and what it meant when it was passed and how far we have to go today.
Sure. So Teachers College at Columbia University just did a symposium on 60 years after Brown. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting about that symposium is that we've identified that New York State is a highly segregated state, and Nassau County, Long Island in general, is also part of that segregation. And we also know that opportunities are unequal. And so we still have separate and we still have unequal. And so that's really the challenge that Brown was supposed to solve. And even 60 years on, we see evidence that we haven't closed that gap yet. So I think that means there's a lot of work to do, and I know that Nassau BOCES has been really committed to that work. And we look for big solutions, but we plow on with the things that we do. We create regional schools that have opportunity for all kids and access to all kids.
Great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.